Hello, welcome. Today we are looking at all of the arena cards that have been released next to the Spider-Man cards. And I think this is interesting because now, for example, we have an in-universe Spider-Man. So what does that mean for Magic? Well, the way I came up with doing this video at all is the fact that there is Fleam, Goblin's creation, which is a very rapidly becoming more popular card, let's say. But Fleam doesn't have a story yet, so that I think is very interesting because now we have something that people want out of this set to be a story, but none of the characters, none of the legendaries in this set existed before this set. So I am doubtful about whether Wizards wants to make any of these characters canon or not, or maybe that they will be hidden from sight and are canon or something, and maybe some will be put into the stories in the future. But otherwise we've gotten a bunch of characters and stories that haven't become real Magic stories yet, so that is very interesting. So today, no big rants about what's bad about this set, but we will just be looking at what is fun. So as I said before, we have right now a new in-universe Spider-Man, and we have multiple actually. So the Spectacular Spider-Man that we have had multiple Spider-Men become creatures, and now they are in-universe characters too, like Ademi of the Silk Shoots, which we can see is probably from Ikoria, seeing how he has sort of bonded with this spider on his back. I hope this is not him being attacked by it. It seems like he is doing this on purpose because he is a hero, or maybe the spider is a hero and the guy is a villain, I'm not sure. But I think it's funny to see how now there are multiple planes where spiders are now a big thing. Of course, Ikoria is a world with many creatures, so it's not rare to see something evolve into it. But we will see many examples later where it is a bit weird to see spiders there, and we are left to wonder how that happened. Well, of course, we now have the omenpaths, so anything can happen. Almost feels like the omenpaths were made for it. Next up is a really weird one, and we have some weird ones in here, we have some cool ones in here, but this one definitely is one of the weirder ones. Here we see an angel fishing for fish in the sky, and we are left to wonder, does that even work? Because usually when you are fishing, the fish goes on land so that you can keep the fish, but if it is a flying fish and you catch it in the air, it will just fly away, right? It's as if you're fishing for a fish in the water, so you will have to kill it or something. And you're not going to do that with just a hook, right? Well, we'll see. But I think the reason why we got this is that web shooters, which is of course a very cool thing to put in a Spider-Man set, which is an equipment that gives a bit of power, but also reach, and tapping a creature an opponent controls, is translated into something in universe and couldn't be translated directly into something that shoots spider webs. So what we got is a card that needed to tap other creatures, which can be done by, well, angling something in, but it had to fly as well. So how are you going to make that work in a Magic card? Well, you can make a flying angel that apparently got the ability to fly because of the fishing rod that is fishing in the sky. So that's why we got this. And there are more like this, but I think this is the most funny one. Then we have responsibilities. With great power comes great responsibility, but when they transformed the with great power card into an in-universe thing, they made it a responsibility that you get by being chosen by Falgothoth, which means that you will have to, I don't know, be happy with all of the things that you can find in the Duskmourn house, which you can see is a pretty dark story. But I think it's fun too. It is already told about. So some of these cards already were stories that we had, but now they have gotten an art, and I think that is a very cool thing that happened. Costume closet I wanted to show because I think it's from Dustmourn 2 with how the spirit looks. Also the window has teeth, so I'm thinking, yeah. And sort of the curtains inside of the house, which are of course used to house moths in, all point towards this being in Dustmourn. And here we see a spirit seemingly being nice to other people by giving them something to wear. So I think that's cool, that we see a spirit that might just be good to people. Of course, we have had it with like the courage and things as well, but this is, I think, a bit special because it's just a spirit, not an animal spirit. Then we have Darval, which has nothing to do with Spider-Man, but I think it's funny that there's another Spider-Man. And this one protects creatures of the forest by building a web around them. This is a very good explanation as to why we never saw Darval, because of course Darval is protecting the other creatures, but also might not be seen because of that. And I think it's funny that there's a spider somewhere that is protecting squirrels and rabbits and birds. Even though the spider should be eating them and chooses not to. Then we have something fun as well, which is Astley of the Thousand Moons, which is a little bit more of a look into the Thousand Moons. And we have seen some stuff about it. We saw that they are very strong warriors from Ixalan, but we really didn't get to see a lot of them. We saw them in a small fight, well, in a big fight, but not in a big way contributing to that fight. So yeah, it's fun to see a little bit more. Here we see them doing very weird acrobatics with a sword in hand. And it seems like the warriors have all sorts of weird weapons. Also giving something else. Flying is a classical thing to do for flying creatures. Then Generous Betty Ray or Rai. I think this is a funny one because we saw Silver Sable, which should be, well, is a leader of other mercenaries, but should be very badass herself. And then we get to see someone who just, I think, drinks with other people, and people are happy for her because she's so generous. Of course, the generosity is mechanically shown from putting a +1 counter on another target creature and giving someone else lifelink. But the lifelink didn't really work on Silver Sable, I feel. But maybe that's because of my lacking knowledge of Spider-Man. The Thwip, which is a funny thing in Spider-Man, has been transformed into a spider jumping onto a bird, which might not say a lot at first, but the card does seem to be from Bloomburrow. So now we learn that on Bloomburrow there are little spiders aside from the birds, mice, raccoons and stuff. Rabbits, I don't know, all of them. Then another cool story is the origin of Spider-Man, which has been transformed into the origin of just a spider who is helping a fox. Have we seen them before? Because they seem remarkable, but really I don't recognize them, to be honest. But apparently there's a spider who is a hero in the universe too. So it's not just people acting like spiders, there are actual spiders who are heroes. Remarkable Readings is another story about the friendly neighborhood from Spider-Man, where we also in the friendly neighborhood see that other people are dressed up like Mysterio and Captain America and Iron Man. So it does seem right there that it is time for Halloween, and that translates very well to Remarkable Readings, I think, because of course Halloween is a bit of a weird time to be alive as well. And the thing I don't understand yet is the fact that when the aura enters mechanically, you create 3 1/1 green and white human citizen creature tokens. So why are 3 citizens being created when you are reading something remarkable? Right there, it seems like on the edge of eternities or something, we're just looking at an Earth, a planet rising from the ground or something. So why are we creating citizens out of there? Let me know if you know or if you can think of something. There is another category of cool cards, which is just cool cards, where Verilex the Haven skin, for example, is just saving a little deer. And we are wondering why a symbiote hero in Magic Universe is trying to save a little deer. Maybe he is aligned with nature, but that doesn't seem to be the case because this is a white, purely white aligned creature. Maybe it's just good and wants to help others. But we are in any case left to wonder why. So there's a lot of story making to do here. And also, if there are symbiotes in Magic the Gathering, where did they come from? We don't know. Also, another Spider-Man, actual Spider-Man, is Peter Parker. Well, not yet a Spider-Man. We see his counterpart in Magic Universe being Cyrus, the Spider Silk Innovator. So he's innovating on Spider Silk. What's there left to improve, you might think? Well, in order to make an amazing Spider-Man in Magic Universe, we got to make someone with a Spider Silk gun. Because, of course, they needed to have reach again to be a proper spider. Why is this a spider? Well, we get to see this many times as well in this arena set. It's just a man with a spider in his backpack. So now it's a spider human. That's how that works. Up to red from white, of course. We see a sort of Rakdos, I think, character in Rizna the Spider Crowned. Why do I think this? Well, it is in a city. We have the patterns of Rakdos with the sort of clown motifs on her corset. And we see a sort of Rakdos sigil, although I'm not sure because it looks a bit different. But what would be fun about this is that there is someone on Ravnica who is being mind controlled, or so it seems, by a spider. So we are left to wonder, why didn't we see them before? Nia Skystill Storyteller is a beautiful story, I think, from Mycoria, who is telling a story to many different children about what is happening in the skies, and they are left to wonder what is in the skies, as we are left to wonder what is happening to all of these cards. And eventually we learn that Nia is actually someone who flies on a flying spider. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? Why didn't we see the flying spider? Well, on Ikoria, if this is from there, this is pretty logical because, of course, creatures keep evolving, so we don't have to see everything happening there. Maximum Carnage is a story about how Lava Brink repels the Magmaloth. But what is a Magmaloth? Well, we don't know. The farthest I personally came is that Lava Brink is a boiling moat, which is a deterrent for most and a relaxing bath for one. So I'm wondering, is this the Magmaloth? Well, not really, because yeah, it is made from lava. So maybe there used to be a Magmaloth, but it was only repelled, it wasn't killed, it says. So eventually it was killed or died a natural death. Or maybe it is out there still, but not in the moat. And then I wonder, where is it? Bio, the irritable instructor, is just cool, I think, because we learn it is from Strixhaven and we see that it is a Lorehold instructor. And I just thought there were 2 of them for every school, but apparently there are more instructors, which is logical, but new to me. Then something else is Vigo, the enforcer of X Crossing. I'm not entirely sure where X Crossing comes from, but in making a copy of Eddie Brock and, well, a story about being transformed, I feel like this fits Innistrad very well too. And he is sort of attacking a werewolf because he's protecting a little kid. And here we see it is very much alike Innistrad in that there are horse carriage combinations. And again we see that I think on Innistrad there are symbiotes too. Of course it's not weird there to see some horror stuff, but does this mean that Emrakul is back? Or does this mean that there's another thing that is happening on there to destroy people's hopes at a normal life. Of course, this is the one I made a video about, Goblin, the gene splice savant, which is made from Norman Osborn and the Green Goblin. Goblin can't be blocked. Not really sure why this is the case for a scientist in this case. It's not like he is learning about news or something. He's just learning from his tests, but okay. Whenever Goblin deals combat damage to a player, he connives. I think that is pretty logical. And then he creates Fleam. And we are left here without an answer, because Fleam doesn't have a story. We just see Fleam escaping. We do see Goblin looking up in sort of... I think he's scared because he let this creation go. And now Fleam will destroy the world eventually. Which world, we don't know. Why? Because he wants to. So sometimes there's just not a satisfying story yet. And that is something we have to live with. We learn, I think, from Eldraine that the Fae are walking among the people. But of course, again, we cannot be sure. We also learn something about the Undercity. And the Undercity should be the Golgari / Dimir place in Ravnica. So I am assuming this is there. And yes, there were spiders there. But we didn't learn about a human hero before from there. So he is a dreamer. And why is Gran dreaming? Well, maybe because he wanted to be in the upper city. Now, while I look at this, I don't feel like this is in Ravnica. But it might be sort of Celestian, but I'm not sure. Kren of the Spider Brood apparently was raised by spiders. That is what I'm getting from this. And now he is up in the upper city, living his life either, or he might be attacking the upper city, which I think would be a cooler story. Maybe he is living with the spiders and sometimes attacking other people, and he is the hero of the spiders. That would be cool too. The King of the Cold Blood curse is just, I think, funny to me because we don't know where he's from, but we sort of learned that he might have been a human before and turned into a lizard, or he is a lizard that ate a lot and grew larger, it seems. Or he is just a lizard, and what is dangerous about him then? Well, we also learned that, like the radioactive spider, which in Spider-Man universes sort of chooses the way the universe turns out by biting a specific someone, and we have the same spider in universe now. A spider that is weaving fates, as if it is a god, but it is just a spider. And I think this is the biggest drop that they made. Oris, Last of the Web Lords. Oris is walking on a spider. He is the last of the Web Lords. And behind him we see many 8-legged buildings. Or they seem like buildings. So it seems like we learn about a new world where it seems like he is wearing something like a new Capenna like set of clothes, but we are not sure. Maybe this is the world under New Capenna, and there were multiple spider cities on there. Well, we are learning a lot or speculating a lot, but there could be something really big here where we might be seeing a real spider world later. Also, we get another card that pushes Celestia towards being a history-like guild, the Celestia Archivist, which I think is just cool. We knew this a little bit before, but it's cool to see how Celestia is being pushed into this history-like guild. Scout the City teaches us that New Capenna has flying Thopters now, which could show us that New Capenna is learning from other planes, and that seems to be something that New Capenna should do. So I really love this particular art. This is a really cool one I found from Reddit actually, which is Serena Bargain Spinner, which is of course a drop or a joke on being a spinner and the way spiders spin their webs. And I think it's a fun art because we see her on the spider, her foot is on the spider's face, which seems to me like the spider should be annoyed with Serena. And the spider's just trying to get that frog but never gets there. And apparently Serena Bargain Spinner has flying during your turn with just these measly artifactured wings. But what is really cool is the fact that the artist noted this card by a Reddit user Lulpu. I'm not sure if I'm saying something bad right now. Who asked the artist of the arena card whether the art was inspired by Trade Caravan, which is a very old art. But apparently he was free to design the character and didn't need to push it into a direction of a plane. So this isn't probably from an actual plane, but it seems to be from Ogrotha, because it was sort of inspired by the vibe of this card, of this old art at least. Something other new that we learn is that the hive, the sliver hive, is being revived again by Druneth. Why again? Because before we sort of saw it with Rukaramal, the biologist, but now we see Druneth also reviving the hive. And if this is on Edge of Eternities, well, that's not weird, because there the slivers were already apparently being revived by themselves or something. But now if this is in universe, the slivers might be returning there too. Another thing we learn, which is just cute, is that on Kaladesh it seems like spiders can now fly, and someone has a pet spider. I'm also wondering if it will be the case that in future Magic sets we will get to see more spiders. Or does this just mean... I really don't know what this means. But will we get to see a real spider world now that we have seen so many more spiders infiltrating the multiverse? I'm not sure. We also get to see what... I put this one in because I just thought it was cool. Shekau, the Predation Shadow, seems to be hunting shadows, actually. So I wonder what this is. And last but not least, I think a really cool one too is the science of the Ur spider. So this isn't yet the Ur spider, but we do get to know that there is an Ur spider, which tells me that spiders were all along meant to be all colors, not just focused on green and black. So what I am wondering here is whether we will see spiders become all colors from now on instead of being focused on green and black. Let me know what you think about the cards in Arena. If you want, there's a new Slowly Discord, which I can drop in the description below. And other than that, I wish to thank you for watching and have a nice day. Bye.